Has it been a long time since you and your family have gathered together for the holidays? The holidays are a great time to check in with your loved ones and friends to see how they are doing. Talking about your parents, your grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, whoever you care about. Whether you are visiting them or they're visiting you, it's a really good time to make sure everything is going okay. My name is Laurie Miller, and I've been working with older adults since 2006 as a home care owner and administrator. I went back to school in 2020 and received my master's in gerontology. But my biggest credential is my personal experience as caregiver for my own mom. I've learned a lot along the way, and I have a lot to share. This video will discuss your loved one's home environment. Obviously, checking out someone's home environment would require you visiting them. So if you do, here's just a few things to notice. The first thing you may want to do is check the refrigerator and pantry. Check expiration dates. Check not only the refrigerator and the freezer, but also foods and spices in the pantry. It's so easy to lose track of how old food can become. And this happens to everyone, so it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong other than they just have old food. Many older adults find it hard and find it wasteful to throw things away. So if there's no expiration date, err on the side that it's old and throw it away. If your loved one has dementia, they may not even be able to tell if the food is spoiled. So it's so important to get rid of all those items. Also, if you are interested in going through and throwing things away, always ask permission first. And of course, do not be judgmental. Plan ahead to know when the trash day will be, and also have a plan on replacing the old foods. Will you go to the store? Will you buy it online? Will you go to the store together? You don't want to create more problems or create a bigger mess without asking their permission and having a plan on what to do next. Now let's talk about clutter. There are different levels of clutter and messiness. If someone has been messy all of their lives, chances are they'll be messy as an older adult too. It only becomes a concern when the clutter is a fall risk or the messiness can become a health hazard. So are there piles of newspapers and magazines all around? Try to be a detective and figure out why. Could it just be as simple as your mom is using a walker and maybe the trash can is located a couple steps down in the garage and it's physically too hard to take out the trash, or it's too dangerous and she feels unsafe? So if possible, have a main trash can in a convenient place, and then if you're out of town, maybe a neighbor could help take the trash out once a week, or a friend can stop by once a week. Many neighbors are very happy to help. It's an easy thing for them to do and can make all the difference in the world. On the other hand, if you figure the house is so cluttered and so messy that you think it may be a hoarding problem, that's a different story. I would suggest that you talk to a professional organizer who specializes in hoarding. Hoarding is a psychological issue and it requires special handling. Hoarding is not just someone who's messy. Let's talk finances. It's important to notice if mail or especially bills are piling up. For obvious reasons, unpaid bills will create serious issues. But talking about finances can be a very sensitive issue. Some folks are very private with their finances and may feel it crosses a line to discuss it with their children. If that's the case, perhaps you can suggest a third party help. It's better and more cost effective to get someone involved before there's any sort of problem or before someone needs help. It can be very messy cleaning up financial problems. But on the other hand, if your loved one is comfortable discussing finances, take the time to learn how they're handling everything. Do you know where their passwords are for online transactions? Make sure that the bills are being paid and check to make sure they aren't paying for monthly subscriptions that they aren't using or don't need. And be on the lookout for scams. This time of year, it is the worst. Let's talk about the car and the garage. Don't forget to check that out. I still remember so many years ago when my dad had to confront my grandfather about his car. Turned out his car had so many dents in it from so many fender benders. My grandfather didn't tell the insurance company. He didn't tell my dad or my aunt because he feared they were going to take the keys away. And guess what happened? They did. It was awful. They had no plan in place. They just said, it's too dangerous, you can't drive. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's other ways to handle it. First of all, make sure they understand that they could actually be sued if they hurt someone, if they hit somebody and hurt them. We live in a very litigious society, and it can be lucrative to sue people, especially an older adult driver. They could lose a lot of money in addition to hurting somebody. And sometimes that knowledge is enough to make someone want to stop driving. Now, on the other hand, make sure you have a plan in place. Can you schedule a driver for them? Can they learn to use rideshare company? You can't just tell an independent person that they can no longer drive without an action plan. And keep in mind, driving represents freedom and independence. Do you remember when you got your driver's license at 16 and what that felt like? So if you don't have a plan in place, it can be devastating to tell an older adult, an independent older adult, that they can't drive, especially for men. The best plan is to see if you can get them on board with the idea. Perhaps it's a slow process. Maybe they start cutting out driving at night, and then maybe they start cutting out driving long distances, or they just go to certain spots. But whatever you do, have a plan in place and ideally get them on board with the idea. And finally, remember, with any uncomfortable conversation or uncomfortable topic, it's not a one and done thing. It may take several times to talk about something and several times to get to where you want to be. But there's no time like the present to get this conversation started. And remember, don't be judgmental and always have a plan in place. Enjoy the holidays. When you visit with your loved ones over the holidays, remember to not jump to any conclusions right away. It is so important to try and figure out the underlying causes for any concerns you may have. Many of them may not even be an issue, but just normal aging. Please check back frequently as I'll be adding more videos. I would love to hear if you have any tips to share with me, and if any of my tips have helped you or your family in any way. Happy holidays!